All right, today we are jumping into a concept that's been called everything from a revolution to a recipe for total chaos in the data world. I'm talking about data mesh. So what is it really, and why does it spark so much debate? Let's get into it.
First things first, let's start with a number that should make anybody in business kind of sit up and pay attention. According to Forrester, a staggering 73% of all data inside a company goes completely unused for analytics. Just think about that for a second. That is nearly 3/4 of a company's most valuable asset just sitting there, collecting digital dust.
Now, this isn't just, a missed opportunity. It's actually a symptom of a much, much deeper problem. It points a giant finger directly at the failures of the old-school, centralized way we've been trying to manage data.
For decades, the way we did things was pretty standard. You had one single central data team, and they were responsible for, well, all of it. But as companies grew, this model created a huge, massive bottleneck. Business teams would be stuck waiting for weeks, sometimes even months, for data requests. And by the time they finally got it, their needs had already changed. It's this super frustrating, inefficient loop that some people have actually called the cycle of doom.
This is the exact problem that data mesh was created to solve. But here's the thing you have to understand, and it's really important. Data mesh isn't a piece of software you can just go out and buy. It's a total paradigm shift. It's a fundamentally new way of thinking about your data, your people, and your processes.
So, back in 2019, a woman named Zhamak Dehani from ThoughtWorks introduced this whole concept, and her core idea was actually pretty simple, but it was also totally radical. She said, stop fighting the fact that data is naturally created all over an organization. Instead of trying to funnel it all into one central place, we should just embrace that it's distributed and organize our teams and our tech around that reality.
And that brings us to the formal definition. Data mesh is a socio-technical paradigm. Now, that word is key. Socio because it's about changing your org chart, how your people are structured, and technical because, yeah, you need a technology platform to support it. But at its heart, it's all about decentralizing data ownership, moving it away from that one central bottleneck and putting it into the hands of the teams who know the data best.
So you might be wondering, how does this actually work in practice? Well, Dehani built this whole idea on 4 foundational principles, and they have to work together to really be effective. Let's break them down.
All right, here are the big 4. You've got domain-oriented ownership, data as a product, a self-serve data platform, and something called federated computational governance. Let's dive into what each one of these actually means. First up, domain-oriented ownership. This is really the heart of the whole decentralization idea. It pretty much just means that the people who are closest to the data are responsible for it. Simple, right? The marketing team owns the marketing data. The sales team owns sales data. These are the domain experts, and they become accountable for the quality and the delivery of their data. Because, let's face it, no one understands its context better than they do.
Okay, next is principle number 2, data as a product. And to really get this, just think about buying a pair of jeans online. You have certain expectations, don't you? You expect to be able to find your size easily, you want them to be made of high-quality material, you want fast, reliable delivery, and you want to see useful reviews and details. Well, the data as a product principle just applies that exact same thinking to data. A data product needs to be easy to find, it needs to be trustworthy and high quality, it has to be accessible, come with clear documentation, and of course, be secure. This completely shifts the focus from just dumping raw data on people to delivering a polished, reliable, and user-friendly product. Okay, so you've given ownership to your marketing and sales teams, and you've told them to create these amazing data products. But how do they, actually do that? They're not all infrastructure wizards. And that's where the third principle, the self-serve data platform, comes into play. The idea here is to have a central platform team that gives everyone the tools and automation they need to build and manage their own data products, easily, without any friction. And the final piece of the puzzle is federated computational governance. Now this one tackles a huge risk of decentralization, total chaos. To avoid that, you get a group of domain owners and platform owners together, and they decide on the global rules of the road, things like security standards, data formats, that kind of thing. But, and this is the crucial part, those rules are then automated and enforced by the self-serve platform itself, so you get the best of both worlds, autonomy and consistency. So that all sounds great in theory, but how has data mesh actually held up in the real world since it was introduced back in 2019? Let's take a look. The reality? Well, implementing data mesh is really, really hard. Organizations run into some pretty big hurdles,
Like, where do you find enough data experts to stick in every single domain? And defining where one domain ends and another begins can get super messy. Plus, building a true self-serve platform is a massive, often underestimated, multi-year project.
This is also a great moment to clear up something that confuses pretty much everyone. Data mesh versus data fabric. They are not the same thing. Data mesh, like we've said, is an organizational thing, a socio-technical paradigm. Data fabric, on the other hand, is a technology architecture. Think of it like a smart integration layer that connects all your data. And here's the kicker, they're not competitors, they're complementary. A data fabric can actually provide the tech that helps you pull off a data mesh strategy.
But even with all the challenges, some huge organizations have seen real success with data mesh principles. Netflix, for example, reorganized its teams around domains to speed up innovation. JP Morgan Chase uses it to empower its data owners while still staying on the right side of heavy regulations. And even the U.S. Department of Defense has used these ideas to coordinate across all of its vast and independent groups.
So this brings us to the big question that everyone's asking today. Given how hard it is to implement and how fast things are changing, is data mesh still even relevant? Yeah, let's just tackle that question head on. A couple years ago, some industry analysts like Gartner even predicted that the whole concept would become obsolete before plateau. So, were they right?
The answer is a pretty clear no. Look, the buzzword data mesh might fade away eventually, sure, but the fundamental problems it was designed to fix, those haven't gone anywhere. Central bottlenecks are still a massive pain. Data quality is still a huge challenge. The core ideas of domain ownership and treating data like a product are honestly more critical and more relevant than they've ever been.
And there is one massive, gigantic reason for that continued relevance: the rise of AI. Generative AI, large language models, they have an absolutely insatiable appetite for data. But not just any data. They need high-quality, trustworthy, accessible data to work their magic. And what are the principles of data mesh designed to deliver? Exactly that.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As the demand for clean, reliable, product-focused data becomes the absolute, non-negotiable price of admission for the AI revolution, are the principles of data mesh no longer just a choice, but an inevitability? Are we all, one way or another, becoming part of a data mesh, whether we actually call it that or not?